Lovely weather for exploring an obscure part of the city that you've probably never heard of, but I promise you this is still going to be 100 times more exciting than a walkthrough of a new shopping mall. Now this just so happens to be one of my favourite parts of the city because it sits more or less in between old and new Bangkok, and it typifies the Venice of the East name that the city often gets. Now it's famous for having lots of different types of markets, it's famous for food, history, old style architecture, lots of stories as well. It's also the point where two of Bangkok's major canals cross over, so there's always lots of boats coming through here every hour. It hasn't really been explored on YouTube apart from one or two of the markets. There aren't any hidden gems, but it's definitely a place I think you're going to like. So welcome to Bobae. So last month I was out of action due to laryngitis, which messed up the workflow of 3 videos I was filming, including this one. So you might notice the length of my hair changing throughout this video, but apart from that, everything's great. So let's crack on with Bobae. We're going to kick off with the tallest building in the neighbourhood. You can't miss it. It's the Prince Palace Hotel. I've never stayed at this hotel, so I don't know what it's like, but I'm pretty sure a quick Google search would satisfy your curiosity. Now, the Prince Palace Hotel was opened in 1994 and gets its name from Mahanak Palace, which used to sit on this site. And this was a palace that was lived in by a prince who was the son of King Rama V. Now, there aren't any really good old photos of the palace, but I've got this old aerial shot from 1958. And this will give you an idea of how big the site was. And today there's only one building left over from this site, but it's hidden behind these gates. So if you do stay around here, you can get an 8-baht tour of Bangkok on the 53 bus, which stops right here. And this bus route is famous because it takes you to 7 or 8 places around Bangkok that would normally take you ages to get to on foot. So I would recommend taking the 53 bus as soon as possible because it will turn into one of those electric buses next year and you won't be able to see out the dark windows. I was here yesterday and the canal water was disgusting. It was stinky, it was dark grey, it was filthy. And I thought I'll talk about this today. I've just come now and it's back to being green and smelling really sweet now. They've let the river water wash through and give it a clean. So there you are, they do care about the water in the canals around the city. And Paddy Doyle will not be happy about that. So this was once the busiest fruit market in Bangkok and it was conveniently located for foot traffic, road traffic, but most importantly boat traffic, given its location here alongside the Klong Padung Krung Kasem Canal. And once upon a time this canal was the main trade route around the edge of Bangkok, and there were many markets, shops, businesses and warehouses along this canal. And it was great for boats coming down here because they could come in off the river at one end, do their business and then go back out onto the river at the other end without having to turn around, because this was a very, busy canal with lots of boats on it, as you can see in these old photos. Mahanak Market was fondly known as the watermelon market, so I'm going to have a walk around now and see if I can find a big juicy pair of melons. Around the other side of the market on Loeng Road, you've got the MRT Orange Line construction going on, and eventually this will be the new Yomarat station about 30 metres below us, so lots of heavy machinery and digging going on, lots of noise for at least another 3 or 4 years, causing plenty of traffic jams and disruption to the area, particularly the access to the markets. And one of the casualties of this was the old Paris Theatre. The former location was right here, which was demolished about 4 years ago. And the architecture of this old cinema was designed by Sumet Chumsai, who was also responsible for the robot building, which was recently renovated with all traces of his original design erased. Then across the road here, you've got the Patana Fresh Market, and that sells fruit, veg, fresh meat, fresh fish, all that kind of thing. There's also a lot of cooking going on as well, which you can smell from over here. So I'm going to pop across and take a quick look. So this is Sapan Khao intersection. It's where Lan Loeng Road meets Krung Kasem Road. And this section of Lan Loeng Road is where they filmed a famous James Bond film back in 1974. There we are, The Man with the Golden Gun, not my favourite Bond movie. I always preferred Timothy Dalton. And I'm pretty sure I showed you that clip in a previous video not that long ago. Anyway, we're going to go somewhere interesting in a boat right now. So we're going to head about 1 kilometre in that direction, not the bus, up the canal. And we're going to go to a place called Nang Loeng Market. So this is Nakhon Sawan Pier, and to get to the market, all we got to do is simply cross the road here. But that sounds too simple, doesn't it? I want to see some alleyways. I want to see the local neighbourhood. So let's take the scenic route to the market. So this is Nang Loeng Market, Thailand's first ever land market, which opened in 1899. All markets before that were along canals or along rivers, which kind of makes sense because the first roads weren't built until the last third of the 19th century. Now I've come on a Friday afternoon, it's 3 p.m. and it's all closed, so it must be a morning thing and I've totally missed it. So what I'm going to do is dig up some footage from YouTube, credit it of course, and play it to a piece of music. So about 50 metres from the market, just down the soi here, is a historical landmark, which is the Sala Chalermthani Theatre. This was Thailand's first ever standalone cinema, which opened in 1918, showing silent movies. It stayed open for 75 years before closing in 1993, and for over 30 years it was left to become run down and derelict before being renovated and reopened this year. Now at the end of the month, they're actually showing one of my favourite films of all time. As you probably know, there are lots of markets around here selling clothes, but I can't think of anything worse than walking around one with a camera, hoping to find something interesting to film. There's even one market that opens at 5 o'clock in the morning, and here's a few clips from it. If you can get yourself out of bed at that hour just to film a market for YouTube, then you're a better man than I am, but I'm glad you did. Anyway, as we're in Bobae and there's lots of markets, obviously I'm going to have to show you some. So I've collected a few clips from YouTube and put them to a piece of music. So lots of different markets selling lots of different types of clothes here in Bobae. No need to show you any more video, I think you get the picture. Now are the markets around here cheaper than say MBK? I would say fractionally. If you normally go to MBK to buy your clothes and you fancy coming to Bobae, I think the taxi fare from MBK to Bobae will probably eat up any money that you save, but the choice is yours. The original Bobae community grew around the temple along the canal and the railway tracks in the early 20th century. And there used to be a community market that would set up along the tracks here in front of the temple, and this would have been the original Bobae market. Now, I'm not sure what it would have been called back then, because Bobae actually came from the description of the noise of that market. So maybe in those days it was Sapan Cow Market or Mahanak Market, and they weren't selling clothes around Bobae at that time. That didn't happen until after World War II. Now, the story goes that the original clothes markets around here were clothes that were taken from people who had died during the Allied bombings of Bangkok in World War II. Just down here there are two communities living either side of the railway tracks, and if you come here in the early evenings you can see them sitting around on tables and chairs or on the track, socialising, eating, drinking, playing music, reading books. I've even seen someone getting their hair cut, and all this while trains are going by in both directions. Now, if you think back 5 years before Bang Sue Grand Station was open, this was the main line, so there would have been a hell of a lot more trains going through back then. So compared to those days, they're actually getting a lot more peace and quiet now. When I first came to this area to do some filming, these houses hadn't been painted in these pretty colours yet, and I'm sure you'll agree they really do stand out. And when I bring people to this area on tours, one of the first things they do is take a picture of that. And I'm sure the people who live there would be very proud. So the boat service that runs along this canal is the Klong San Seb canal boat, although this section of the canal is actually the Klong Mahanak, and it changes names just after the Charon Rat 32 bridge. Anyway, this service runs from Panthar Lila Pier, just down at the end there, that is the old town, and it goes all the way through here, through Pratunam, parallel to Sukhumvit Road, then it swings east alongside Ramkham Heng, through the suburbs, terminates at Bangkapi, and then you can get another boat which is free from there all the way to Minbury. So I can't recommend this boat service enough, and fares are only 17 to 27 baht. So where the two canals cross over is also the point where the Klong Mahanak Canal becomes the Klong San Sep Canal. And this blue pipe here, more or less, is the borderline. This bridge here that carries Krung Kasem Road over the canal is the Charan Rat 32 bridge. And this was built in 1912 to celebrate the 32nd birthday of King Rama VI. So along this part of the Klong Mahanak Canal, you've got the Muslim neighbourhood and you've got Mahanak Mosque. That dates back about 120 years. I did take a walk down the alleyway to get a closer look at it, but it's so narrow down there, it's very hard to get a decent shot. So I got a few pictures here from Google. And then I took a walk down the alleyway a little bit further to the Islamic cemetery, which was interesting. And if you walk further down the canal here, you can see evidence of former industry. There's a big old factory here. Looks like it's been closed about 30 years and they're probably going to be demolishing it very soon. There's also a few pretty grand looking houses along this canal as well. And if you go further down towards the end, you get to Panfar Leela Pier. So I'm going to attempt to cross the bridge on this very thin plank. Everyone else does it. But the problem with me is that I'm scared of heights, and you can see the gaps here I've got to be careful of. And when you're scared of heights, sometimes if you have a bit of a panic, you can lose your balance and you get a slight dose of vertigo like I'm getting now. So let's just move the camera down so you can see what I'm in for. If I fall in, I probably would never be seen again. Anyway, this is a good way to conquer your fear of heights. I did try and conquer my fear of heights by walking on the glass walkway on the King Power Mahanakon roof, but I lasted about 10 seconds. Anyway, I've made it. I only got dizzy a couple of times, and this is the track leading up to Yomarat. You've got a big railway community living here, been established for about 75 years. I just went to buy some water and tried to have a conversation with the old guy. He says the best thing about living here is that since they opened the new station, Krung Thep Apiwat Central Terminal, that took most of the trains away from Hua Lompong, and they all get a much better night's sleep around here. So we're almost at the end or the beginning of Loeng Road here. It's quite chaotic actually. They're just waiting for a train to cross over Yomarat intersection. And there's an old mansion I was hoping to get a few pictures of or get a look at, but that's not possible due to all the construction going on. So I'm going to show you some pictures and give you some history.
So one thing about Yomarat intersection is you got 5 different roads coming together and the entrance to the expressway, but you've also got 2 different train lines crossing as well. You've got the Eastern line and the main line. So during the day, everything has to come to a standstill to let the trains pass. Well, there's 2 trains I didn't expect to see today, or rather 1 train, because that was the same steam train. I filmed it going inbound to Hua and then 30 minutes later the 2 locos were coming back outbound to Makassar, and I've just heard the siren go off again, so there's going to be another train coming and I'm not sure which direction it's going to be. Well, this is Yomarat junction. It's where the Eastern line meets the main line, and going inbound it goes to Hua, but going outbound, the Eastern line, the next station would be Urapong, and then on the main line the next station is Yomarat junction. In this corner of the intersection is one of the entrances to the new King Rama IX Memorial Park. Construction has been going on for about 3 years now, and it sits on the site of the old Nang Loeng racecourse. Now, it was supposed to be opening next month, but judging by the progress, that probably won't happen. I think it'll open on December the 5th, which is Father's Day and was the birthday of the late King Rama IX. So I've come to this location here because I was doing some research on Yomarat intersection and I found something historic worth telling you about. There used to be the Colosseum Theatre and Skating Rink here, and I found some old photos. Now this photo shows a building with the billboard and a bridge with a canal, and I've worked out that the old canal is just down here, hidden amongst the undergrowth, and the Colosseum was opened between 1957 and 1977. And there were lots of comments on the photos on the Facebook pages saying that they had such a great time when it was open and it's a shame that it had to go. So the whole site was cleared in the late 70s to make way for the expressway. That was around the time when the government were building all these expressways around Bangkok to solve the traffic problems. But the Colosseum seems to live on with great memories and nostalgia. Across the canal, you've got Bobae markets 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, all selling clothes. During the day, they're all open for business, but in the evenings, it can get pretty spooky around here. Well, that just about wraps up this video in the Bobae area. Please do subscribe if you haven't already done so. Like, share, leave a comment. If you want to support the channel, you can do so via the Buy Me a Coffee link on the screen. That just leaves me to say thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.